I was really scared during those first few months, thinking that I was going to die and not having anyone that I could talk to because nobody in the community talked about HIV. First, I want to say that we live in an age of media and Google is your friend, because that's actually how I got into treatment. I learned September 27th, 2012, that I was living with HIV. Where would I go from there, right? So it took like a month, maybe two, before I actually reached someone that could actually help me. And it was a Google search. And I just did HIV in Arkansas. Studied the cost of the meds, and I just knew that that never would happen. So I was really scared during those first few months, thinking that I was going to die and not having anyone that I could talk to because nobody in the community talked about HIV. And so I really felt alone. So what I did was I actually ended up, calling the Arkansas AIDS Foundation and talked to the director at the time who directed me to where I could go to get services because none of those agencies actually talk to each other. And so that's what my advocacy has been around, like getting these agencies that can provide resources to people living with HIV on the same page. They're not in the same building, but they do need to at least communicate with each other. And so what the Arkansas AIDS Foundation was able to do for me is they were able to pay electric bills when I needed them paid. They were able to pay rent when I needed them paid. Being a Black trans woman, jobs were not easy to come by. And when I did come by one, it wasn't easy to secure because I had issues with using the right restroom. They wanted me to use the restroom that was, I should have been going to because of the sex I was assigned at birth. And so it just became a huge thing, but I still needed to live. And so there were times when I had to deny who I am and go into the men's restroom looking like I look, and so it was a really, really scary time and place to be in the workforce. And so I got into treatment November, I just so happened to be a part of a study and they screened me in November. December, they told me that I was accepted, and in January, I started antiretroviral medication. But that's not the case for everyone. When I learned that I was living with HIV, my HIV care was taken care of. Now, what do I do about transition-related care, right? That was a whole different animal. And the blessing that came with that is that Arkansas actually expanded Medicaid. And so I was able to get the basic transition-related care that I needed, which at the time were hormones. And so now to actively combat issues with work, I changed my identification documents to where I have, legalized my name and my pronouns are female, she, her, hers, and my gender marker says female on all of my documents. And so now that job that told me I couldn't use the women's restroom because my driver's license said M can't hit me with that anymore, but I'm no longer working there. Well, for me, when I had to use the men's restroom, there were times when I was just like, you know what, I am so exhausted, I'm tired of fighting, and I'm gonna do it. But then the look that, the people gave me, because there were cubicles right outside that bathroom. And so the look that they gave, they're like, what is happening? And so I just felt like I was always being watched. But then there were times when I didn't want to go through that. And what I did was I actually left the building and went to two buildings over and I used their restroom, right? And which was a restaurant. And so, which I ate there frequently for either lunch or breakfast. And no one ever said anything, never. It was my community. It was the Black community that had an issue with me using the women's restroom. And so I'm like, I'm not in there assaulting anyone. I'm only in here to do what you need to do, wash my hands and leave. And I didn't see why it was such a problem. And so that was before I actually started doing any type of advocacy, knowing that I had a voice. And so I put up with it, but it did hurt. It hurt a lot, and I put my body through a lot because there were times when I just refused to even make that walk or even go out on the floor to use the bathroom. And so I would hold it for as long as I could, and that just wasn't doing my body right? But for now, like no one, absolutely no one can refer to me as he. They can't refer to me as my dead name, or nor the nickname, and I have the most problems with family. Outside of my immediate family, I'm fine. Everyone honors me. But my immediate family, they grew up with Tommy. You know, they grew up with Junior, right? And Junior died when I was 21. I refuse to try to bring them up to my future. You know, if y'all want to stay stuck in the past, then that's on y'all. But what it has done for me is lessened the stress, lessened the anxiety. I realized that I don't have to put myself in situations like that to where I'm not going to be respected. And I need for whoever may listen to this or see this to know that as well, that you are deserving and worthy of respect. And if they're not going to give it to you, it's okay. It's okay to walk away. That's exactly what I did, and I'm happy for it. I am. And now my family is actually coming to me because they miss me. You know, they would rather have another sister than to lose me altogether. I think that they're genuinely trying to reconnect, some of them, my sisters anyway. I think that they're genuinely trying to connect, but much like when I came out being a person living with HIV, I didn't even think about the ramifications that it could mean for family. You know, the stigma that's attached to an HIV diagnosis, how people can possibly try to use my diagnosis to like win an argument or to defend their thought with my family. I never thought of that. And so if I had thought of that, maybe I would be in a different space today. But that wouldn't be necessarily living for me. I had to live for me. I can't live for anyone else. I was named after my father. I'm not my father. I didn't go into the work that he did. I chose my own path. And so I think that the resistance to actually honoring who I am is the fact that I chose who I wanted to be. I chose my path in life and I walked it. And not a lot of them have been able to do that, but I don't have children. I'm not married. You know, like I can pretty much do whatever it is that I want to do that makes me happy. And I can't honestly say that my family is happy with their lives. I can't say that definitively and believe that. And so I think that there is some resentment in the fact that I'm happy, you know, like I'm almost a household name and people look up to me. You know, there was a time when they said that I did all of this for attention. That it couldn't be farther from the truth. I am so private, you know, I share parts of my life, but am I an open book? No, you know, and what I have realized is that when I do speak about my life, I own that. No one can use that against me. And I think that, you know, a lot of people are really concerned about how people perceive them. But I went trans on the other side of gender, you know, and so I couldn't care less what people think about me. That's not what keeps me up at night. You know, I sleep peacefully every night because I'm happy with who I am.